everybody. Welcome to the Coach's Spot. I am your host, Jason Powell, here with
Super Coach Anthony.
Super Coach Anthony DeBrule. All right. So thanks for showing up, everybody. Everybody that's listening. This is the Coach's Spot. I didn't quite do that right over the music. I got to turn the music down more. So anyway, in case you didn't hear it, it's the Coach's Spot. We're still working that kind of stuff out.
Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends.
Hey, and really important, follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
We got a Facebook page too. I don't do as much on the Facebook page, although we may start doing some Facebook lives if I figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Or YouTube. Cool. But definitely follow us on Instagram. Please, we need followers. The Coach's Spot. That's it. There's no apostrophe before the S, so the two S's together is kind of weird, but the Coach's Spot. It's not hard. So please follow us on there. That would be awesome. Anthony just muted and said, "Shut up!" in the background. He's got a pizza coming. So if you hear people in the background, it's because he's got a pizza coming. If Anthony will even stay after the pizza's there, because Anthony loves pizza.
No.
So,
so anyway, so I'm gonna start off. You know what? This affects coaching, all of us coaching, is a workplace environment.
You know what, dude? You've brought that up almost every week. I don't care. That's awesome. Bring it up.
No, well, the last one.
Obviously, you're having.
No, well, we didn't get it. Put it out there.
Right.
So that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, we canceled. I deleted that episode.
Yeah, that's why I'm talking about it.
Sorry,
but you know what? But in this matter, I think I have better of an idea of what I wanted to say and what I'm talking about.
Good.
So again, because right now I've been, I haven't had a day off in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, because we had regionals this weekend, everybody. Oh no, I'm sorry. We had state. My bad.
Yeah, I still have Level 7 State to go to after this, but
we have a state.
Me and my wife are taking a cabin out and doing to get my mind out of it. But you know what? I was thinking one of my biggest, I think, for me that I struggle with is not feeling like I have 100% support within my community of with other kids, people that I coach with. And I'm not talking about like in my gym per se, but I'm saying this has happened before to where you get to where I've gotten to a point or whatnot, and then it kind of just hits a stall and you don't know.
Someone's behind you.
Oh.
Hi. Oh, both of them are behind you.
They're both there.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I lost track because you threw me off. See, I would not have even noticed, and it wouldn't have skipped a beat. But we always talk about ego and all that other stuff with us, hey, being aware of it and stuff like that. Right. But I truly believe that there's some of us that don't understand when we're portraying that ego out and we're doing things that I would say is not necessarily what we would normally do, or we're conscious of actually doing it. For instance, like, if you're on an event or you're on the field or whatever, right? Or think about it as you're a coach, and if you're sitting at somebody else's game that you were watching, and then you automatically, we all do this, they were like, I would have that player probably would have bunted this one and then this blah blah blah, or vice versa for football or even for gymnastics, and you'd be like, I would do this and that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We all have those ideas and those thoughts or whatever. But what I'm saying is, when you start to vocalize it and start to say, for instance, talk to other people's kids and tell them, hey, you need to be doing this, and that, and you need that primarily coach, well, then your thought of, well, I'm just trying to help the kids turns into that kid now is no longer going to listen to that coach. because they're going to think what you're saying or whatever you're doing is going to, you know what I mean,
Mhm.
is you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and we run into that, and then it turns into, after a while, it starts to turn into just, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say
It
like
undermines
hatred
your
or anything like
authority.
that.
No, it
Yeah,
undermines your authority.
yeah, and you know what I'm saying. And then once you've done that, then the workplace environment is gone bad because then it's going to start leaking it from the students. It's going to go to the parents. And then once it does that, then your relationship with that person, coworker that you're working with, guess what? Now you're going to start having problems with them. And once all that stuff starts to flow out, you are no longer paying attention to what you're doing with your kids or vice versa,
Yeah.
which I think kind of hinders the whole process of what we talk about all the time, with our lesson planning and all that other stuff. And I bring it up because, I run into the same thing. I've seen it to where I would see, I know coaches where one would do that to another. And that coach is, it was hard for him to do his job because he's getting so upset because he's trying to get these kids to get engaged back into his plan of work and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And to get to his environment that he's trying to create and stuff like that. So I think a lot of us have to try to be more aware of what we're doing and how we're coaching in that aspect. Because if you don't truly, you know what I mean to be doing something like that, I think we all need to like take a step back if we start to see struggles within the gym or even with our coaching partners or whatever, you know what I'm saying, or whoever you're working with, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, it's funny because I, I'm talking about I've seen it with a person, and now that person does it to me,
Yeah.
and again, I don't believe like it's in a malicious intent. You know, we're not. I don't dislike this person. I don't hate this person. I love this person to death and stuff like that. Um, but what I'm saying is, for you guys out there, I think if we start to communicate a little bit more verbally to us as coaches, I think the better the environment will be. And if you can eliminate, you know, the ones, that will do it with malicious intent and stuff like that, I think your work environment can start to get better if it's struggling. I guess is what I'm kind of saying. I don't know. What do you think, Jason? You're way better at talking than I am about it. But I mean, do you understand? Do you get where I'm coming from?
I get where you're coming from. I take a harder line than you do on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there is a bit of maliciousness to it. I think there's a bit of jealousy to it. I'm not talking about just your situation. I'm not
Yeah.
even talking about your situation. I'm talking about when coaches do this, because I've seen people even do it at a meet to kids from another gym.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't have you compete that. I'd have you do this. I've seen it. And I think it
Yeah.
comes from a place of maliciousness. I think it comes from a place of ego. I think it comes from a place of jealousy. And I take a much harder line on it than you do. First off, if it's happening in your same coaching realm, you're on the
Mm-hmm.
same team, whether it's football,
Yeah.
baseball, soccer, lacrosse, or gymnastics,
Mm-hmm.
tennis. How about this? Pay attention to your athletes and stop looking around the gym at other people's athletes. And if a coach needs help, they'll come to you. It's that simple. Stop looking around the gym, looking for kids that you want to put in your group, maybe that you wish you were coaching. Here's the thing. You're always going to have kids that you'll look at another coach's kids and you'll be like, oh, why'd they get the talented one? Stop it and focus on what you have in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this before. If you want to coach, and Will had a really elegant point on this. If you only want to coach the great athletes, you're not a coach.
No.
You have to coach the great, and you have to coach the average, and you have to coach the poor.
Mm-hmm.
And how did Will put it? I can't remember now, but he said, but the bottom line is just focus on the athletes you have in front of you, because those are the ones that you're being paid to coach.
Yeah.
And if someone else needs help coaching, they'll come to you. And it happens to me all the time. I have coaches in the gym that come to me all the time that say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? I have a lot of coaches that ask me to help them with your Chenkos, and a lot of, because your Chenkos are, they're tough. They're tough to teach. And you got to be patient with them. That's the hardest part with your Chenkos. You got to be so patient for so long. And I've had coaches ask me for help. Absolutely. And here's what I do. Take what you want, leave what you don't. Cool. And I go back and I coach my kids. And, I had a great Yurchenko this weekend. So I'm not saying I'm the best Yurchenko coach, but I have a lot of drills and coaches ask me for it. I've had coaches ask me about I have class coaches that come and ask me about certain stuff, and I go help them. But even if I see a class coach doing something that I don't necessarily agree with, or if they say something or whatever, I don't go to that athlete. I go to that coach, and I'm like, hey, I have this. Do you want me to help you? And if they say, no, I got it, I walk away. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. No problem. And I walk away. If they ask me for the help, I give them the help, and I give it to them enthusiastically. But I don't go to kids. I don't even go to class kids. I go to that coach. I say, hey, that kid's pretty good. Would they ever be interested in coming to team? Or anything like that. And I know that's a little off subject, but if there's one thing that was great about my mentor as a coach, is that he never, ever would do that. He would pull me aside and say, Jason, that kid's a Pax Alto. That kid's not an overshoot. Just so you know, from his infinite wisdom that was way bigger than mine. Hey, she needs to do blind there. You know what I mean? But he would come to me. He'd never go to a kid and say, why is Jason teaching you that? Or, if you were with me, I'd be teaching you a Yurchenko, not a Sug. Or if you were with me, I wouldn't go the handspring front route. Now, first off, you're not with that kid as much as their coach is. So be quiet. And then if you do feel that way, go to the coach and say, hey, why are you going down this road? Why are you doing this? And go ask them. Don't go to the kid. Never go to the kid. That would be man, I don't know. That's almost like hitting on your best friend's wife. Like, dude, there's a line you don't cross. There's a line you don't cross. You go to the coach. If I'm at a meet and a coach, I've had this happen to me. I had a coach yell at one of my kids because she ran down the runway before time had started. She did a run through, and he yelled at my kid. And this takes me onto another subject that I'd actually like to talk about because it's on my mind lately. But he yells at her, and I say, don't discipline my kid. You got a problem with something my kid does? And when I say my kid, I mean my athlete.
Yeah. Yes,
when you got a problem with something my kid, well, it's the same way with my kid. Although I'm like full-hearted, discipline my actual children whenever you want. My athletes, don't talk to them in the middle of a meet, and definitely don't discipline them in the middle of a meet. That's my job. Come to me if you have a problem. Come to me. And I told him, and he's a pretty high-ranking coach. Like he's actually on some boards and stuff. And I'm like, don't talk to my kid like that. Don't discipline my kid during a meet. It's that simple. You don't do it. You don't do it
in the same way.
You don't talk to my kids. Like, I don't care if you come up and you want to talk to my kids about something else, you want to joke with them, you want to do all that stuff, please talk to them. Go ahead. I have no problem with that because I know coaches that do.
I laughed because I
had somebody this weekend that was telling me a story about it, where he went up and talked to a bunch of girls and was cool with them. And then they got disciplined on Monday because they talked to a coach from another gym. And then 9 of them left and went to that coach's gym. So, but what I wanted to add too, and that's my opinion on it. I take a hard line on that, man. And you aren't into confrontation as much as I am, and you're a good guy. And sometimes people mistake that. Hey, that's your daughter in the background. She was standing in the doorway staring at you. You're on mute right now.
Sorry. No, I know.
I don't care.
Mute them and keep them out of the thing.
I don't care. She can come and sit with you. I don't care.
No, I know. But you know what? Just as the touch on that whole base too of coaches going up and doing things like that, and this whole thing, and it happens at my gym too, where they try to do, oh, we got to make this is probably what's best for these kids and make this certain storm group and all that.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, when you're doing things like that and what we're talking about, you have lost what you are as a coach, and now you're no longer looking at your athletes as athletes, and you're looking at them as trophies, because the
Trophies,
only reason one
or you're looking at them as
what's going to make me look
currency.
better.
No, you're looking
Yeah,
at them as currency.
yeah, that's and again, that's my opinion, because in no other way, I've never ever went, these girls should be over here, these girls should be over here. The only time that it's ever been like that, say if me and my same coaching partner have so many kids that we split the group, and then we're like, how do you want to configure it? We do it with each other, as in that, not as in, well, these girls should move over here, but this coach, this coach, and this coach are the only ones, and then ones get snuffed. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And
Yeah.
again, if you're not doing that out of any of that stuff that we're talking about, then how do you think that looks to everybody else?
Right.
Kids move, the one coach is removed. You know what I'm saying? So again, for me, and especially, it's that's what you're doing it for. You're doing it because you want to go out and you want these kids to go, man, you have good kids. You. You're doing it for yourself. Because if
Well,
not, you would keep it the same and just leave it as it is. I'll tell you, a perfect gym that doesn't do things like that, very successful, will go.
yeah.
They don't. You get what you have, and you work
Get
it, and
what
you
you
go all
get.
the way up with them.
You get
And
what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
exactly,
My
you know what
kids
I'm
even
saying?
know that. You get what
But
you
but
get, and you don't throw a fit.
but again, look how good and successful those coaches are.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so hard to read. If you have a girl for a year and a half or 2 years, and then you swap them with another different types of coaches, now they have to retrain and relearn that system.
Yeah. Well,
And again, that's my opinion, and I'm
you're
pretty
only as
sure
good. We've said
everybody
it
else is.
before. You're only as good as your worst athlete.
Yeah, of
And
course.
if you're handpicking your kids, if you handpick your kids, first off, if I handpick my kids, I would probably be miserable because because it doesn't show how good of a coach you are by coaching the most talented kids. That's not what it's about. And
Yeah.
it's not about coaching the most talented athletes at the end of the day. And it's, if you think that coaching is about trophies and first place and medals, then you probably should be doing something else, because it's not.
Yeah.
It's not, especially in a sport like gymnastics where you are with them more hours than their parents are. It's crazy, and it frustrates me. And because it is ego, and anybody that says it's not ego is wrong. And at the end of the day, everything that's done in this world that's evil is usually done out of ego. And that's why I
Yeah,
say it's
for sure.
malicious and jealousy. Because if you can drop that and stop comparing yourself to other people and stop comparing your athletes to other athletes and just do your job and coach, you're so much more successful, especially female athletes.
Yeah.
Because I'm stealing a little bit here from Sachs on the Sean and Sachs show, because she talks about how women really do want to be protected, right?
Hmm.
And we're coaching female athletes. Now, when you hear women want to be protected, the first thing people think about is, oh, masculinity, blah, blah, blah. It has nothing to do with that. That's not the kind of protection I think she's talking about. She's talking about they want to feel safe. And when I say safe space, I don't mean coloring books and puppies. I'm talking about a safe space where they can be themselves and where they can feel protected when they are themselves, and they know you have their back no matter what. That's what they want. And that's what I don't, guy athletes aren't as much into that. They're more into performance and how much better they're getting and everything else. Female athletes want that too. But they also want to know they're protected. And I think that's one of the reasons why you and I connect with athletes so well.
Yeah.
Because I think they know on an emotional level that they're safe. As sarcastic as I am, as much as I make fun of my girls, they know they're safe and they can act a little goofy and they can be themselves, and they're in an area, not to mention the fact my athletes know, like that girl that ran down the runway and did a run through and a coach yelled at her. She knew right away I might have to hold Jason back. Like she knew I had her back. Just like when I argue with judges, when they do something that, you know, they like one time they tried to take some of our bar time because another team went over on their bars, but we had split. So we were warming up on our own.
Mm.
Them going over is irrelevant because their time is not connected to our time.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had all these different bar settings and stuff. I'm like, no, we're going by ourselves. So them going over has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, they went over. So they took 2 minutes of your time. And I'm like, no, they didn't. And I got in a big fight with the judges. My girls see that. And they see, oh,
Mm-hmm.
he's got our back.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to let anybody do us wrong. You know, I had another example where my beam and floor coach, who you know is spectacular, who was at my old gym or is at my old gym.
Mm-hmm.
We went to a meet and I think level 7. And that's when they said that 7s could do switch leap on beam. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Where they could do, so switch leap's a C, right? So they could do a C on beam, which is uncommon for level 7. Level 7, usually amplitude, you can like if you do a clear hip hand, it doesn't count as a C, but usually amplitude is the only way that you can do a C because you just do a scale bigger. But in this case, they said it was okay to do switch leap. So she, being the great beam coach she had, they all had spectacular switch leaps on beam. So they did them at a meet, and our scores start popping up, and they're 2 points low. And I go to the table. I'm like, "Are you taking 2 points for doing the C?" And they're like, yeah, you're not allowed to do a C. I go, September, they changed it and we can do a C. And they're like, no. And I go, yeah. And I pulled it up on my phone. I go, look, it's page so-and-so of the revision, blah, blah, blah. So they read it. The meet referee comes over. They're like, well, nothing's official until you fill out all the inquiries on it. I'm like, what? And they go, you have to put every skill on there. Like they were so mad because they were wrong. But my girls saw that. They knew there's no way we were walking away from beam without them giving our 2 points back on every single athlete.
Yeah.
So they know that. They know you got their back. You don't, you know, I fill out inquiries sometimes just so my gymnast knows I got their back.
It's funny because I was at a level 5 state in Rockwall one year. and we're talking, and this guy gets under the table and he starts to set it. My kid is being dumb and not paying attention. She balls and it slams and clicks. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, what are you doing? He gets up and he screams at my gymnast. Pay attention. What is wrong with you? And I went, whoa. I was like, first of all, shut your mouth. You don't talk to my kid that way.
Yeah.
And then I told her, I was like, dude, you got to pay attention. Go up there real quick. And then he's like, no, you need to pay attention to what your gymnast is doing. I said, you say one more word and I'm going to beat your ass right here in front of the meet. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. But yeah. And he just stood there and I'm like, what are you going to do, dude? No, seriously, what are you going to do? And he just stood there steaming. And I'm like, because I'm heated, because I'm like, dude, obviously she didn't see you under there. She wasn't paying attention. Yes, it was a mistake. You didn't get hurt. You know, but you don't. And he screamed at her. And I'm like, dude, that's uncalled for. And of course, I went into straight father mode at that mode. I'm like, no, dude. And then you're going to tell me with that? Like, you know, I can take it, but, you know, something's going to happen. Yeah. I'm a lot better now.
I think everybody that's listening knows what would happen if that happened to me. I'd be suspended at the very least. My would be suspended.
I just remember
Michael
That boy Michael, my homeboy Michael was like, dude, chill, 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 chill. He's like, chill, chill. I just hear him in the background, dude, chill, 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 chill,
Yeah,
chill. And I was just,
he doesn't seem like he'd like conflict too much.
you know, he's very, dude.
He's a
Mike's
loving
loving.
dude.
He's a
He's a
loving
loving
dude.
dude.
Yeah, no, I mean he enjoys conflict, just not like physical conflict.
He
Like, you
likes
know what I'm
competition.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he can get in and he'll say his little piece, and then he's just like, "Ew, see ya." You know what I mean? I come in, I'm just like the Hulk, dude. I just explode and bad things happen, and then afterwards I would shrink back down to size and
Well,
go,
yeah. I mean,
"I'm fired, huh?"
when I got in a fight with those judges, I wouldn't even call it a fight. Even
Yeah,
my co-coach was like, you were totally polite the whole time, but you
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
backing down either. Like,
See, I've learned how to do that now. How to
yeah,
be polite about my thing and get my message across. I'm getting better at it. That's why, like today, my whole subject of this is because I got to get that off my chest.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think, like I said, I think a lot of times, especially with you, just because you're such a nice guy, people mistake that for
Hmm.
weakness, and they'll push and they'll push, and then when you stick up for yourself, they're gonna say you're not a team player.
Oh,
It
trust me.
happens to
Or they
me.
Or
Happens
it's
to
the
me a
excuse
lot.
of, well, you're just mad because of this happened. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, because you're lying and you did something deceitful and you know it. And everybody else does too.
Yeah.
But no, you know, that is my biggest flaw. I am too nice. And I let too many people into my cookie jar that I shouldn't.
Yeah. See, I think that's the biggest thing. Well, and I'm much, 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 much older than you. So
Really?
I was exactly the same.
I thought you were like 2 years older than me.
No, like
It's
20 maybe.
I just look good for my age, buddy.
Well, I'm 82.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
Oh, you look great for
thank you.
82.
Thank you.
Joe Rogan ain't got nothing on you, bro.
I know. I'm 82.
Yeah.
So I uh I learned to start saying no. Like people
Yeah.
come to you and I wanted to be everybody's friend and I wanted to be, and then
Mhm.
it just, I hit a certain age, and a lot of it has to do with me and Becky being together, my wife,
Mhm.
because I went through a big transformation right before I started dating my wife, probably a year before I started dating my wife. I went through a really big transformation. I learned to say no. I learned to stand up for myself, which is very unpopular, especially right now
Mhm.
in this political climate, or this, as the country dies. uh they just don't, it's if you think that's not happening right now, you're crazy, but that's a different podcast. But
Yeah.
uh and Becky and I would not be together if I wouldn't have gone through that transformation,
Yeah.
because Becky is very strong, and Becky's really good at saying no, and Becky's really good, she's just a strong independent woman, which I've coached my whole life. I mean, all gymnasts. There's exceptions here and there, but most gymnasts, I should say most, because
Mhm.
there's no all ever. There's no absolute ever. But most gymnasts are strong. A lot of them aren't independent because they go by everything you say and do, and they want you to tell them what to do. It's
Mhm.
right now I'm going through that because I have a new group of girls, and I'm in charge of them pretty much now. And I'm a choice giver. I'm like, hey, we're going to do this or this. Which one would you like to do? Because both of them get the job done. Which one you want to do? And they're like, oh. It's very unpopular among coaches. Very
Mhm.
unpopular. Why are you giving them a choice? Just tell them what to do. No,
Mhm.
I don't, because I want to teach them to be good people too. And
Yep.
I want them to be leaders. And leaders, if they don't give you a choice, are diplomatic about it. And if they do give you a choice, they usually give you choices that you can't make a wrong choice. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like, if I give them two things to do, we're going to get both accomplished. But which one do you want to start with? And I make them make choices, because if they can make
Yep.
choices, then they can be decisive. I'm teaching them to be
Mhm.
decisive. And my main coaching is process and decisiveness.
Mhm.
Because if you don't know what's happening after you do that skill, that causes fear. So if we trust the process and we envelop ourselves in the process, and then we're decisive not about the outcome, about what comes next, and we're
Hmm.
decisive about doing that skill, very rarely does fear come into it.
Yeah.
So, because they're too busy.
That's I'm glad that you brought that up, because like even right now, like my daughter just made the decision. She was thinking she's been thinking about kind of going into the AM groups and stuff like that
Mhm.
for a while, but she has her friends that are still in my group and stuff like that, and of course she has me. So we've been talking, and of course, um, she had told me, she's like, "Well, I'm thinking this. I kind of want to do this, and this is why." And I'm not going to say why, but and I'm like, okay. I said, so, well, these are your options. So I gave her these options, and I said, now, I think, for me talking to you as your coach and as your father, I'm like, I think it would be better if I release you to this other individual. I think he'll do great with you if that's what you wanted to do. Um, it takes pressure off of me, takes pressure off of you. And then of course she's like, yeah, but I don't want to leave you. And I love you. And I was like, well, this is what you have to understand. That it's not about me or you. It's about your future. What do you want to do? You say you want to do
Right.
college gymnastics and stuff like that. So maybe we need to stick you on a path that's going this way. And I'm just, in my opinion, I think, this might be the best route. And she just had this look like, and I was like, so I said, now what I want you to do is, I said, I want you to think about it. Because if you do this, then once we unenroll you from this district, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Like, so if you get injured and stuff like that, you can't go back to that same school. So that's a consequence, you know, of it, blah, blah, blah. Because she's public school right now. So, and stuff like that. So I said, you need to think about all these things, come up with your decision, think about it really hard. And then once you made that decision, let me know. And then
By the way,
you'll,
she's not 8, y'all.
yeah,
She's
um,
how old is your daughter?
14.
She's 14. Okay. So giving her these life choices is a little different. It's not like she's choosing her gender either.
No, I'm sorry.
So
She's 15, 14.
she's
She's 15.
15. She's
Yeah.
15. So
Yeah.
and the older my gymnasts get, the more I give them
Mhm.
choices.
Yeah. Yeah. So I told her, I said,
For
you
all
got to
you
walk
people
in.
freaking out that he's
Oh,
giving her
yeah.
this many choices.
So, no. So I was like, after you do that, then you'll walk into the team coordinator's office. You'll sit down with her. You'll let her know, hey, I would like to do this. This is where I like to be. This is why I want to be there. And if it's okay with you, I would like to make the change.
Yeah.
And that's what she's doing right now. And I said, and if they ask you why and stuff like that, you don't candy coat it. You say what you need to say, and that's it. And then we go from there. We'll figure out how we're going to school you. We already know how you're going to get there because I'm there at 7 in the morning anyway.
Right.
With my other girls. But yeah. And the funny thing is, I was talking to some of the coaches that be coaching her, and they're like, dude, that is like so good of you. Most people will not give up their position with their kid, or even
Well,
do this
what'd
and
you
that. And
do
I'm
though?
like,
What'd you do? Why were you able to make that decision? Because you let your ego go.
mm-hmm,
You let it go because you knew you got to do what's best for your kid. Not to mention the fact your kid has to learn that no choice or anything they do in their life is going to make you love them more. Therefore, they can't lose any of your love by any choice or decision or anything they do. Does that make sense? If you
mm-hmm,
can't gain love from it, you can't lose love from it. Does
mm-hmm,
that, because you already love her as much as you can love her.
mm-hmm.
So if she makes the right or wrong choice, it doesn't matter. She's not going to lose or gain love. And
Yeah.
in your family, she knows that.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it matter? You know what I'm saying? It's in the long-term plan, even it's all at the end of the day, there's no love loss or love gain.
Yeah. And
So
if for you guys that are probably out there going, well, it's probably because he couldn't do the job. No, that's 100% not the reason. I'll explain it to you. Me coaching my kid has been harder mentally on me because when it comes to spotting her releases and things like that. Because she's my child, I'm very protective of her. So it's scary. It's scary for me to do these things. With any other kid, it doesn't bother me, but it does. You know what I mean? With her, and I get a little apprehensive. So I'm afraid that instead of letting her do things that I know she's prepared for, that I might still cling on to it because of my fear of her getting hurt or whatever. And I don't want to do that. I haven't done it yet, but I feel like I might, and then I wouldn't know that I'm doing it. So I'm hindering my daughter's skills, knowing that I can push her to a coach as good or as better than me in these things, and I think she'll mix well with. That's why I'm making this decision, and I told her that I think it's good. It's not that I can't do it, because you can give me any other kid, and I guarantee you I can do it 100%. But that's my thought process in my head, and that's why I came to the conclusion to be like, hey, yes, I think this is your thing, and I
You're
gotta
the
let her
exact
fly.
opposite for why I can never coach my daughter.
I know why you
Exact
can't.
opposite, because I would be like, hey, go try giants by yourself. Like I would be too hard on her because she's me. 100%. She's me. So I'd be like, go do it. Go do it. And the problem with my daughter is she would go do it. Like, yeah, wang, and she goes flying across the gym. I'm like, okay, everybody else, that's how you don't do it.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know what she was thinking.
and with my athletes, it's funny because with my athletes, I'm usually the exact opposite. If anything, I'm so on the side of caution. Let me spot you. And they're like, I don't want to spot. I'm like, just let me spot you one more time. I don't want to spot. And I'm like, come on. So
No, see, I'm not a big spotter type guy. I mean, I do, obviously, especially at 9s and 10s, you have to do it. But
yeah,
well, and at level 4. But my thing is too is I have, especially when I spot, there's almost every skill that I spot. I have 3 different ways to spot it, where it starts from the heaviest, then I go to the medium, and then the very lightest, and they're all different.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's what they are. They're my beginners, medium, and then where you're almost doing it by yourself, and then I go, no, sink or swim.
Oh,
I'm not gonna stand next to you the whole time.
I don't know if I've told this story on here. Let's tell a spotting story since I don't want everybody to think that I think I'm the greatest spotter ever, because I'm not.
Yeah, okay. Tell the story, and then
I've
I gotta go.
worked with the greatest spotter ever, but
You haven't worked with me yet. No, I'm just
Harry
kidding.
Walker.
I'm
Harry
not. I'm
Walker
not
is the
even.
greatest spotter ever.
I promise you, I'm not. Nor
And
do I think that.
Evgeny from Woga, it might be one of the greatest spotters ever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But so I have these girls on bars, and it's when I was at my other gym, and I had this girl, and she's super cool and everything else. She was a little sassy, but I had this really good group of girls, and they're all building up. They were all 7s, I think. So maybe even not like preseason 7s. So I was like, okay, let's do clear hips. So we're doing clear hips, and the way I spot a clear hip is I go kip cast handstand, and then when they go for the drop, I put them in the shape. I hold their belly, I put them in the shape. I'll slow them down a little bit, and then move my hand, and they whoop, drop right in, right? And then I spot the legs, bring them up to handstand, hold them in the handstand. Anyway, everybody has a different way of doing it. That's how I do it. So my hands are close the whole time. Well, she goes kip cast handstand. I hold her belly. I put her in the shape. As soon as I move my hand, she throws her head like as hard as she can throw her head. And I think she's going to come off the bar. And I see her grip starts coming off the bar. So I grab her wrist, and then I grab her leg, and then she lets go. And so I go to grab the back of her head, keep it from hitting the board or hitting the floor. And she turns her head and throws it towards me. And my finger goes in her eye like a UFC fight. Like it goes deep, like like this. And I can feel it. And I pull my finger back, and she starts screaming bloody murder, right? Screaming. And I'm like, are you okay? Let me see your eye. Let me see your eye. And she opens her eye and there's no blood or anything, but she's blinking at, because getting poked in the eye, there's nothing worse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure I even scratched her
That's
retina.
why I wear glasses, bro.
I think I even maybe scratched her retina, but it was better than her head hitting the board or anything else. So, she didn't lose sight in her eye or anything, but I think she even closed it like right before I hit it. But anyway, she's screaming bloody murder. And finally I go, you got to shut up. Like, you're scaring everybody in the gym. I understand it hurts, but you got to shut up. like there's no blood. It didn't look like a UFC poke, where they got the eyelid hanging off or anything. Nothing was so bad that she needs to scream like that. And she was fine 5 minutes later. So, she might've blinked a little bit, but it wasn't even a missed spot. She just turned her head, which she wasn't supposed to do. But I was like, you gotta shut up. Cause there's little preschool classes and everything else. And everybody, I got coaches like, do I need to call an ambulance? The way she's screaming, they thought there was a bone sticking out or something, which has never happened to me, knock on wood. But I'm like, oh, stop. But
I had a girl one time. She was running down beaming down the freaking vault runway. She smashes the board and it looked like her ankle snapped. And she slides on her belly and I grab her and I pin her down. And she starts, and I'm like, calm down now. And I'm pinning her. Yeah. I'm like, chill. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this thing's done, right? Get her, I'm like, you need to breathe. Just relax. I'm going to slide you up to in a sitting position and I'm going to look at your foot, okay? I just need you to relax and just breathe. So she calms real quick. And I have her pinned pretty hard on this table because if I wouldn't have, she would have thrown herself off and it was crazy. Anyway, so I slide her up and of course, ankle's fine. It was just a bad roll. Yeah. So it's, it starts to swell up, whatever, but I can tell that it wasn't broken. So anyway, so I'm sitting there. And so I immediately have another coach go get ice, wrap her foot in ice, put her down,
put her down. Your eyes are too close together and your ears are big.
So, I put her down on the floor. 5 minutes. She's talking like nothing ever happened. Right. Whatever. So I'm like, okay, but it looked disgusting. Now, same situation happened with the same student, but she had moved. She had another vault coach at the time, and she trips, falls, snaps her arm. Oh. Right. And I wasn't there for this. I got the text, hey, this happened to this child, just so you know, because I had her on bars. Yeah. And then everybody told me because this, and this is not by any means his fault. So don't take this guy's out that I'm trying to bash this guy because trust me, you don't know this kid. Anyway, so she does it. And apparently she starts flopping around like a dead fish, screaming bloody murder. She's going, call an ambulance, call an ambulance.
And
I'm sitting there going, see, this is why I pinned you the last time. So you don't do that.
I take that back. I've had 2 broken arms not me. I have 2 of my athletes that have broken arms. I had one that peeled off on a backswing and put her arm down. And then I had another one. She hit her dowel during a competition on the bar and it threw her arm back and she was skinny. And she landed arm first and her humerus exploded. They said it looked like a gunshot wound.
Her humerus? So she was laughing the whole time?
Yeah. She probably not. She was in surgery for 12 hours. They had to vacuum out the pieces of the bone. And then they had to put a special thing on it and the bone had to grow back together. It was bad. And she tried to run away from her arm. She landed, fell, it broke. I saw it boom, boom, and it's twisted back. And she jumps up and she looks at it and tries to run away from it. And I have to run across and I grab her as gently as I can and put her down on the floor because she was trying to run away from it. Because she's like, it looks weird. It looks weird. So it was so bad.
It was so scary. I was working. This is my last story, by the way. But I was at Crowley's camp and everything was finishing. And I guess this kid was on the bar, comes down and both arms hyperextend.
Ah,
And she's stuck there, and they come in. There's a Hungarian there, and then they come in. They're like, Anthony, can you help us real quick? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, because they had me all over that year.
yeah.
And funny, those Hungarians were laughing at me. Anyway, I go and I see this kid. I'm like, trying to say anything. And they're like, can you help us get her out of this pit right here? And then and they had called the ambulance. Oh, dude, I was like, no, I don't want to. But yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go. Oh wait, last story. I bet I've told this before.
Okay.
Level 9 regionals, maybe. One year I had a girl that actually did a Hindorf as a level 9, but we were getting her ready for college. So I let her throw the Hindorf, even though she didn't get full credit for it. But she threw a Hindorf. Level 10. No, another level 9 was throwing a Hindorf for some reason. Misses the bar, puts both arms down, dislocates both elbows right before my kid's supposed to go.
Oh.
I walk over to the chalk tray. I go, do you want to take the Hindorf out? She looks at me and goes, why? That ain't me. I'm like, okay, gangster, you go right ahead and compete that Hindorf. And she did, and she hit it, and she won.
That's dope.
Yeah. So anyway,
guys.
Okay, guys, we'll end it there. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Instagram,
guys.
Okay, brother. I'll see you later.
There's a lovely picture of me and Jason looking into each other's eyes.
No, it's me laughing and you looking straight at me with loving, beautiful love.
It's because you have a booger in your nose.
No, it's because you love me. You can say whatever you want to defend your masculinity. It's because you have a crush on me. Let's not lie. Okay. Don't lie. I knew it. All right. Okay, brother. Talk to you later. All right. Bye, everybody.